Right guys, welcome to the preview show. We've got a really good exciting show coming up for you this week because guess what? We're in the playoffs. So all those doubters out there, including myself, have been proved slightly wrong, although in a kind of way we haven't because we've scraped in, but that's a different subject. So I'm Foxy, that's Rob on camera. Are you Rob?
Yeah, Foxy.
Yes, I'm absolutely spot on. So just to clear this up, this week we are actually in Rob's bathroom. He's managed to put together, God knows how, with a bit of Airfix glue, a pedalo, and obviously this fantastic surroundings you can see today, which looks a lot like Lock Park in Redcar, Boating Lake. Get yourself down there, £10 an hour, but it isn't that. So, let's talk Aston Villa. Where do we go with this team? They've been up there all season. Really big squad. Spent a lot of money on this squad. They spent 40 million last season when they tried to come up, nothing happened. They spent a bit of money this season also. Brought in the likes of Lewis Grabbin in January. Jack Grealish has become a bit more of a fixture. People like Cherno Samba on a free. Scott Hogan from Brentford, decent signing. So let's have a little chat about where we lie with them. So we played them 3 times this season already, as you all know. Beat them in the cup, drew with them 10 men at Villa Park, and they turned us over at the Riverside, fortunately for them. You just got to bear with me guys a second because Rob's shed moves quite a lot. Wasn't expecting this bathtub to have as much movement as it's got. To be honest with you, I wish I wore a life jacket, but I'm not going to get freaked out by the guy that's to my left trying to do the pedalling. It's not that deep either, hopefully. So let's talk football. Aston Villa, meant to look out for. Well, they score a lot of goals from a lot of different positions. They've got some good free kick takers in the team. They've got goals from midfield. They've got goals from left back, right back. They've got goals from up front. And in fact, actually, Scott Hogan, who's their sort of main target man this season, he's only scored 6. Seems as if a lot of stuff, he's the hold-up man really. Seems like what happens is they like to build up play to his strengths, and he does a lot of kind of people running past him. They like to play with 4 in midfield, sometimes 5. Line up for me, and again, I'm not certain Aston Villa fans, but line up for me is probably going to be along the lines of 2 fast full-backs in Hutton and El Mohammadi. Probably Chester and Terry will play centre-backs to try and nullify Bamford, Gested maybe if he starts, or even a Sombalonga. But I would assume we'll go with those 2 instead of a Jedinak there. Probably play Jedinak central defender, central midfield, defensive midfielder. Again, that may change. Henry Lansbury's played a couple of games from this season, but I doubt he'll play. He's a bit more of a creator, whereas Jedinak's a real kind of intercept. He cuts out the interceptions, likes to get in there with interceptions, cut out the break up the play. Bit of a scrappy guy, feeds it to someone who's going to do something like a Grealish, who will start for me. Adoma on one wing, who we'll come back to. Probably, like I say, play with Hogan up front and play with Snodgrass on the other side. Hourihane in the middle as well. Now let's just pick up on a few of those players. Hourihane this season, defensive midfielder and also defender. Scored 11 goals for them this season. Snodgrass, I think he scored about 6 or 7 goals, a lot of assists. Grealish, few goals, 4 or 5 assists. El Mohammadi's chipped in with a few goals. So's Hutton, I think, 1 or 2. He's definitely scored in the cup. Then you've got your centre-backs. Terry, who likes to get in on a set piece. Just bear with me a second, guys, because Rob's turned on his super lamp. He's put his 400-watt lamp on here. And yeah, again, I'm struggling to see where we're pedalling. Not that we're pedalling in a lake at Lock Park in Redcar, we're actually in Rob's shed. So, as I was saying, there's goals all over. For me, they are a threat, and I know Borough fans aren't going to like to hear this, but this is a team with a really strong squad that, realistically, we have struggled against this season. We didn't really have anything when they played us at home. It was a pretty dire game, to be fair. In the cup, yes, we beat them 2-0, but that was just the effort. That was the League Cup, and that really doesn't mean anything for me, especially at that time of the season when we played them. But, you know, they made a lot of changes. We made a couple of changes, and obviously that was under the Gary Monk era, so we don't know whether we count that too much because Gary Monk changed his team every week. So, obviously the team that beat them in the cup isn't going to be the team that starts on Saturday. Like I say, we drew with them 0-0 away in September, I think it was now. Back in the dark days of September. 10 men we had for majority of the game, as we all know. So what are we expecting really from this game? My personal view is I think there'll be 2 goals in it if they score first. If we score first, it'll finish 1-0, because as we all know, we've gone in front 15 times this season, I think, and never given up a lead, which is a really good stat. I like that stat. We don't do many stats on this show, but that is quite a... That means something, especially under the Tony Pulis era. But I think they'll score. As I've said, they've got goals from all over. There's dangers from set pieces. They're dangerous from open play. They're probably going to play 4-1-4-1, which is their usual setup. There's a good chance that he may play the likes of Josh Onomer, who's a young up-and-coming kid, 20-year-old, talented player. He played in the last game, and actually in their last game, obviously they've been in the playoff positions now for over a month. They've been guaranteed a playoff place for over a month, but they were still fighting automatic promotion. They weren't good enough to go up. Obviously Cardiff and Fulham have put in great runs this season, and Cardiff have just pipped them, which, I've got to be honest, with the team that Neil Warnock put together and the money that he spent, the run that they've been on, whether they're a good team to watch or not, they deserve to go up in that second position. So really, as an Aston Villa fan looking at it, I would be a little bit disappointed with that, with the amount of money that's been spent. But as we've mentioned on these shows before, Millwall are a team that have done it, spent next to nothing this season, and you know, give themselves a great shout of being in a playoff spot, really outdone themselves. Aston Villa, like ourselves, have spent quite a bit of money. So Steve Bruce is a manager that I rate. He's an experienced manager. He's somebody that gets teams out of this league. He's proven at that, and that is quite a big thing. Tony Pulis has only done that with Stoke. Now, I'm not going to start talking about my feelings on Tony Pulis, because they haven't changed from day one. I don't think he's the right man for the club. I don't think he's the right man to take the club forward. And I certainly don't think the style of football that we play is the level of football that I have seen at this club from all of my days as a Borough fan, 30 odd years. We've never played that way, but needs must. And if we get into the Premiership playing that way, I'd like to think that he's clever enough to adapt and buy in players to suit a footballing style, because you need to hold on to the ball in the Premiership. There's no way we can go up into that league and have a quick turnover of possession. We'll get taken to pieces every week. But I'm digressing. The game itself, I think the matchups really are, well, Traore obviously is key to us, so's Bamford, so's Besic, Grealish, Snodgrass, Adoma, who I'm going to talk about in a minute in a little bit more detail, Adoma, Hourihane, like I say, who's been chipping in goals. And then they've got people like Lewis Grabban that I mentioned earlier, who's been a great signing from Bournemouth. Actually, he's probably the final nail in the jigsaw, that in the coffin that's put Sunderland down, because they kind of stole him from Sunderland on loan, and he's been at Bournemouth, from January. He scored 8 goals. So Adoma, Borough fans, Adoma. I think it's really Adoma v Traore. We're probably going to have shot and mark in Adoma. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not. Mind your heads, guys. Rob's built a bridge in his shed as well. So just ignore me while I duck here. Speaking of ducks, we're getting eyed up quite a lot. He's managed to put some real good paper mache ducks together. We've actually got a surprise guest on there. Jimmy Bullard's up there. Jimmy Mallard's up there. So, evening, Jimmy. So, where does that leave us then? Can Adoma take us to pieces? I hope not. He had flashes of brilliance with us, but obviously Karanka fell out with him and he left, and he's had the season of his life this year, which I think we'll all agree. Everybody who knows the stuff will see that him scoring 14 league goals is massive. A lot of assists as well. They aren't a very aggressive team, Aston Villa. They're a team that like to play with possession. They're a team that like to play short passing. They're a team that like to play with the front man, hold the ball up and bring other people into play. That's slightly how we play, but that's not their only dynamic. Whereas it kind of is with us. If we can't play out wide, we like to play into feet up front and then quick turnover, get it out wide and get the crosses in. Like I say, they hold on to the ball a lot. Hourihane's a player that's impressed me a lot this season, also a set piece taker. 11 goals is massive for a defensive midfielder. So if we equate that to where we are, with our kind of defensive midfielders, Ledbetter, you know, I'll leave it at that. So I'm worried that they've got goals from all over. Again, no, with the way that we've played this season against them, I'm not expecting many goals. As I've just said, it'll be tight. So, with all that said, it's probably going to be 4-4 now. Hope it isn't. Hope it's a 1-0 Borough, 2-0 Borough, but I do fancy Villa to score, unfortunately. As I've said, they've got a lot of scoring options. So, when we look at it, really, I think we'll keep it alive going into the second leg, but I think it's all going to be about the second leg, really. Whether they beat us at home 1-0, or whether it's a draw, whether we beat them, all the action's going to take place at Villa Park for me. So I've kind of made my prediction, but as always, I'm going to ask Rob what his prediction is. Ahoy there, Rob.
Right.
What's your prediction?
2-1 to Boro, mate.
To be fair, this guy, I don't know how much attention people pay to Rob, but they should pay quite a lot because he seems to get this right every week. Never puts a bet on though. So 2-1 Boro, Rob, yeah?
Yeah.
Goal scorers?
Sombalonga.
Wait, we're going to end up going through his shed wall here.
And Danny Ayala.
You can't, Danny, I like that. You can't see who's to the left of me or to the right, depending on how you're looking at this. But we've got somebody in the other half of the shed here who's taking this, riding this boat like really seriously here. He's pedalling quite a lot, which is probably the most pedalling he's ever done, to be fair. Probably the most work he's ever done. Can't mention who it is, but his name doesn't begin with AJT. We'll leave it at that. Yes. So I'm going 1-1 or 1-0 Boro. Can't make my mind up. I'm a little bit more worried to see where we're about to collide into here, but again, I shouldn't worry because it's only Rob's shed. Great animatronics there, great bit of paper mache here. Really worried I'm going to get sucked under here. Have you ever seen the end of Titanic? That's what's just about to happen to us, so I'm going to call this a day now and say, look guys, whatever you do, get behind them, let's be positive. If we manage to do the miracle and the unthinkable and we get to Wembley, and we get promoted, then get to Wembley, anything's possible, promotion could happen. I personally don't want to let myself think too much about it, so I've been Mr. Fox, that's been Roberto the Stig on camera. This has been a preview show, and thank you guys, as always, best fans in the world for your support this season. Please though, get in touch, comment, let us know what you think on what's going to happen on Saturday, whether you agree with me, whether you agree with Rob. You know where we at, guys, so please get in touch. But whoever you are, wherever you are, as always, peace out, Boro fans.